CRL Contract 1 turns these terminating platforms into through platforms, joining up with the new stations at Aotea, Karangahape and Mount Eden. Throughout 2015 and 2016, we worked very closely with Heritage New Zealand and Auckland Council to ensure that our works here in the station preserve these key heritage elements.
I started work in the CPO January 1962. We were taught how to basically service, maintain, strip down and rebuild teleprinters. Some of the quirks of this old building. Well, it was considered a rabbit warren. There were offices, corridors, little side rooms that even today I didn't know existed.
It was built 1912, opened I think 1913. It was one of a very large number of very fine buildings that the government built for post offices all around the country. These were really important buildings. On this building, for example, in Queen Street, a lot of very important public announcements were made, speeches, and distinguished visitors came to the post office and were welcomed. The troops were sent off to the First World War, past the post office, and there were farewell speeches here. And architecturally, it's a very fine building, and that's one of the important reasons for its significance.
In 1962, there was little shops across the road. There were a lot of buildings around which over time got demolished, and now we've got that concrete jungle out there.
At this end of the facade, we've got one of the two heritage canopies along the facade of the building. This one had to be carefully deconstructed and put into storage to allow us to pile in front of the building to put down our temporary concrete underpinning beams. Now that we've finished that work, we'll very carefully pull that out of storage and reconstruct it.
Here's a building that has real presence in the street landscape, and to my mind it survives very well. And a building like the ferry building next door or Endine's building next door, they mutually support each other. And they're very humane buildings because their scale, even though this is a big building, it has a wonderfully human scale at ground level. So these buildings fit very well into the modern street landscape.
One of the engineering feats with this contract was the construction of 800mm thick diaphragm walls below us. In order to do this, we had to manoeuvre a 90-ton piling rig through this building with particular care to get between these columns and with the limited headroom available to us.
The architecture that struck us the most was the big columns down in the ground floor where the savings bank was, along with the three domes that shone from the light from the atrium.
In order to construct the tunnels below us, we've had to excavate 14 metres below ground level. These columns beside me were all suspended over the tunnels. In order to construct them, we had to temporarily support the tunnels using 340 tonnes of temporary steelwork. We've used state-of-the-art technology to monitor the building's movement throughout the construction. Within the building itself, we've got hundreds of prisms which are all collecting real-time data. This technology is so sensitive that it even picked up the Kaikoura earthquake.
The basic area that I was concerned was the telegraph office, the cafeteria, and the basement. Post office foundations did suffer from water ingress from a lot of rain outside and a high tide coming up from the harbour. The big dome used to have an A-frame over the top of it to stop the water blowing in, but now that's got the modern glass facade at the top there.
So here we are, we're directly below the CPO building, some 14 metres below ground level, which is about 10 metres below sea level. To the west here is the CRL tunnels, which will link up with Mount Eden, and over here to the east is the existing Britomart station.
When New Zealand Post was invented, they moved out and it ceased to be a post office and it became a derelict building. And then with the expansion of the rail into the CRL, the building had to be reopened to expand the railway line under the building and out across Queen Street. So it's having a second shot at being the railway station.
Two of the biggest challenges we've faced in this project have been working within a live station environment and also working within a 100-year-old building. So a building of that age will always throw up a few surprises.
Another interesting thing, I suppose, in 1968, the Ministry of Works, which was the government building office, decided that the building was an earthquake risk, and so it got some chaps up there with chisels and they carved off all the twiddly bits off the front of the building, which would have had absolutely no effect on its earthquake risk at all. And so one of the joys of doing the original conservation of the building was to put all those things back again, and that was fun.
The present CPO replaced the original railway station, but it's ironic now that what was here many years ago is now coming back as a railway station.